Manx Radio Sport.
Very good evening and welcome to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio on this beautiful Isle of Man evening. I'm Rob Pritchard, here with you now until 6:30, taking a look at the sporting action on Ireland this weekend and news in the week so far, coming up tonight. The Dixcart Railway Cup final takes centre stage in Manx football tomorrow evening. Meanwhile, 4 remain to battle it out on Saturday in the semi-finals of the Hospital Cup. With just over 2 weeks to go until TT 2023, we catch up with a Manx rider who's set to make his mountain course debut this year. And this weekend, hundreds of youngsters will take part in one of the island's major youth sporting occasions of the calendar year. That is all to come this evening. Turning to football then to start with, and as the league fixtures for the 22-23 season are just about being mopped up, there is still plenty of silverware up for grabs in the final games of the season. And this weekend as well, there will be one particular trophy up for grabs, and we will get to that in a moment. But before we get into any detail, we will, as ever, welcome Tony Mepham here into the studio. Tony, very good evening.
Evening to you, Rob, and absolutely spot on. A lot of important semi-finals tomorrow, a lot of important finals coming up, and hopefully the season is down to be finished on the 27th of May. That's what we're trying for.
Well, before we get into this weekend's fixtures, there was a trophy decided in midweek. Congratulations to Corinthians women, 7-2 winners over Douglas Royal in midweek to lift the Women's FA Cup and make it a treble for the season.
Yeah, congratulations to them. They've played really well this season, and a lot of young players have come in and shown what they can do and got themselves included in the Ireland squad. And it was tight at one stage, at the start of the game. The goals didn't quite go in for them, but Douglas Royal had sort of got it sorted at the back, didn't they? Kept things all nice and tight, but then when Corinthians started getting the shooting boots on, it all came together for them for a 7-2 victory. So congratulations to Dom, to Rory and all the girls for lifting the trophy.
Well, I was at the game myself, and they absolutely shot into a lead, a quick-fire double from Chloe Terry in the opening 15 minutes. And Corinthians controlled the ball, probably as expected, but Douglas Royal, they held firm, and it just seemed to be that for Corinthians, a little bit of frustration maybe started creeping in early in the second half, and Douglas Royal, they took full advantage of that with minimal opportunities throughout the game. 2 very composed finishes from Caitlin Smith, but then that seemed to spark Corinthians into a little bit more of a rhythm. They got a Casey Halsall hat-trick, goals from Holly Stephen and Ciara Morgan as well, but I was speaking to Corinthians captain Anna Shaw after the game, and it took them quite a bit of work to get out of that sort of frustrated period where Douglas Royal brought things level. But I guess that shows the character of them to come out of that and then win by what was, in the end, I suppose, a fairly emphatic scoreline. Yeah,
it was, and I think fitness will come into it as well, Rob. But Corinthians have got some really good players, and I think that's what happened. Was 1 or 2 of the younger ones maybe getting a little bit frustrated because they couldn't break down that Douglas Royal defence. But they've done it. It's a learning curve for them, and again, when you look at the players that have come into that squad, it's made it a lot stronger. I think 1 or 2 of them may be going to university next year, so that'll sort of weaken Dom and Rory's team. But no, credit to them. To win the treble in any sporting competition takes some doing, and this season with winning the league, the FA Cup and the Floodlit Cup, credit to everybody who's worked hard to achieve that, and a little bit of history once again for the Corinthians women's team.
And another little bit as well there when winning the league, won all 10 games as well. Very impressive record.
It is, and not as impressive as Russian in Combination 1. They played all theirs and won them all, but no, Women's League, every game that was asked of them in that league, they won, and credit to them.
Very well. Well, that was the Women's FA Cup decided in midweek. Let's take a look to this weekend then, and we'll start with games on Saturday. There are 5 games kicking off at 2:30pm, and we'll start with 2 games making up the Hospital Cup semi-finals. And the first of those over at Glen Road. This could be quite a close encounter. Laxey versus Ayr United.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Rob, because I watched Laxey last week against St Mary's, and frustration was there for them as well, because they had plenty of chances and didn't put the ball in the net, and St Mary's just frustrated them. They work so hard, and when you have got someone up front like they had in Owen Canopy, you had to keep him nice and tight. But Ayr have hit a bit of form of late, and a good result recently against Colby, as well with Laxey. I think they're pretty well fully fit, all the players. I saw Johnny Palmer's squad, so with the players that they've got up front in Charlie Robinson, also Brodie Patience and others in there, then I think they're going to possibly be slight favourites. Great atmosphere at Glen Road last week for Laxey, and well deserved to them for everyone turning up from the village to support them. And Ayr United always bring a good contingent as well. So I just don't think Nick Hurt's team have got enough, and that's why I'm going to go for Laxey to win.
Very well, and then out in the west, St John's United, they're going to host Rushen United in the other Hospital Cup semi-final.
Yeah, again, no team news coming in from Rushen, but I know St John's, one or two players missing. I've been told who they are, so I won't spoil the party because it was told in confidence. But with those players missing, I just think it might affect them a little bit. And Rushen, again, it's what sort of squad they're going to pick, because they've got 3 FC Alaman players there, only 2 can play, so we'll see how they do on that one. But I think, Rushen, with the good young players that they've got in there, I know they didn't play midweek, and I sort of get it a little bit. I know it's not nice to happen, but when you've got the Cal Cup final coming up, the Junior Cup semi-final and the Hospital Cup semi-final, you want to sort of give yourself a chance, and I just think Rushen will win this.
And then we have 2 league games as well, one in the Canada Life Men's Premier League and one in DPS Limited Division 2, part of the formalities really of just making sure that the league seasons can be concluded. We'll start with the one game in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, and that's Moran versus Douglas High School Old Boys. Old Boys relegated, of course, but had they picked up points against Onken in their last game, this could have been a massive game, but not to be.
No, it's not to be, and these 2 guys have battled the whole season, haven't they, really, to pick up the points to take them away from the bottom of that table. Moran will be interested to see what their team news is, because they've got the semi-final of the Junior Cup the following day, so there might be 1 or 2 players who are rested because they've qualified for the Junior Cup. But I think certainly Moran will be the strongest out of the 2 teams, and Old Boys will be looking to see if they can get back into that Premier League next season. And with the team that they've got there, I know they're a little bit older, but you never know.
You never know indeed. And the game in DPS Limited Division 2 is Foxdale, and they will host Douglas and District.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Foxdale to win. Just looking at the league positions, D&D are a little bit below them, as we're with Andy Corkle's players. They'll be happy enough with the way the season's gone. Again, just missing out on that sort of challenge at the top of the table, but I think they've got enough to take the 3 points here.
Well, along with those 4 games taking place at 2:30, all eyes will then turn to the bowl at 5:15 on Saturday. It is the Dixcart Railway Cup final, and it's the Men's Premier League champions Peel up against the ECAP FA Cup winners Corinthians. And we at Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary of that game from 5:15 on Manx Radio DAB and AM 1368. And Tony, wow, what a game we could have in store here on Saturday evening.
Yeah, it is, because both teams played midweek, and good battle. Peel scored within the first minute, and then that was it in that game. St John's, I believe, really pushed at them, but it didn't come off for them. As well with Corinthians, me and yourself watched that game, and it was tight at the start. I think Union Mills were right in it, but then once Corinthians sort of showed the cohesion together, the reason why I say that, at times it just seemed a little bit disjointed, but then he got it together, and hat-trick for Sean Doyle was great. And when you look at Danny Gerrard in there playing ever so well, I thought Phil Kelly was excellent at the back, and Adam Killier as well in goal. And it's going to be a great battle. This game kicks off at 5:15 at the Bowl. Thanks to everyone who's made it happen. And, Corinthians against Peel is always a close game, and it's going to be whoever plays well on the night. But I know where my colours are, and I'm going to go for Corinthians just to win it.
Looking at Peel, obviously, the Canada Life Men's Premier League champions, they've been the team to beat all season out there, and they've then gone on, deservedly, some might say, to winning over the course of the campaign. But then, of course, in the FA Cup final, Corinthians beating Peel 3-2 after extra time. So in a cup scenario, does that maybe give Corinthians a bit of an edge, or will Peel be out to make a point in this one?
I think Peel will be out to make a point, because they were disappointed in the FA Cup final, because they thought they were the better team, and I thought they were, because Corinthians lived a charmed life at times, but they held it together, and a great performance by Chatwood in the end, who pulled it together for Corinthians. But no, I think Corinthians team's changed a little bit now. You've got people like Chris Cannell played midweek. You've got also Sean Doyle in there. Whether Ryan Burns will play, I'm not too sure, but there's 1 or 2 other players who've been on the edge. Ronan McDonald, Phil Kelly have been able to come back into the team, made it a lot stronger. But then it doesn't stop there. People like Carl Presley, you got Connor Clark. There's some good players in there. Totally different to how they played recently, and that's why I'm just going for Corinthians to edge it.
So we could have a cracker on our hands at the Bowl.
So
the Dixcart Railway Cup final, 5:15 p.m. on Saturday at the Bowl. Corinthians versus Peel. And we'll have you covered on Manx Radio if you're not heading down to the Bowl. Full live match commentary from myself and Tony on Manx Radio, DAB and AM 1360. We'd love to have you along with us. OK, let's very quickly take a look at Sunday. The football action continues and we have the semi-finals of the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup. 2 p.m. kickoff for both these games. We have St John's versus Moran and then Russian versus Ramsey.
Yeah, two good games, and with Peel getting knocked out midweek against Moran, that's a bit of a statement by Moran, and St John's, who are probably going to finish maybe third in the combination one, then you'd expect St John's possibly to win it, but there's something there about Moran. I don't know if they've got one or two sort of key players available for this competition, but that was a super result midweek, so at the moment I'm unsure about this one, but I'll just go for St John's just. And in the other one, Russian against Ramsey. Ramsey had to battle hard last Sunday. It was sort of okay in the end for them. But Russian, just look at the league table. It tells you everything about them. And I think Russian will win that.
And last but certainly not least, we do have one game in the Canada Life Women's League, 2 o'clock kickoff on Sunday as well. And that is a bit of a southern clash. Castletown hosting Maloo.
Yeah, Southern Derby. Tidy up process, just completes the league. So thank you very much for that. Maloo have had a wonderful season. First season and been impressive, to be fair. I've watched them a couple of times and they've improved right the way through. As well with Castletown, they've got the numbers together towards the end of the season, which is great for them. But I think Maloo are going to win this.
Well, Tony, thanks very much, and we'll be catching up in the commentary booth tomorrow for the Dixcart Railway Cup final. Thank you very much. Well, with just over 2 weeks to go now until TT 2023, and a local rider is very much looking forward to making his Snaefell Mountain Course debut this year. 29-year-old Ryan Cringle is set to compete in the senior, superbike and superstock classes on a Honda Fireblade machine. He follows in the footsteps of his brother Jamie, who took to the TT for the first time himself in 2022. I caught up with Ryan to find out how his preparations have been going for his maiden TT and find out a little bit about what he's hoping to achieve.
Yeah, something I've obviously been looking forward to getting. It's been a few years coming, but I've always said I'll do it when the time's right, and for one reason or another, it's taken a while to get to this stage, but now I feel like the time is right. We're going to give it a good go this year, but I'm excited for the challenge ahead, definitely, but I fully expect once we get there, it's going to be hard to enjoy to start with, because there's going to be that many things going on, that many things to take in, the speeds we're going and characteristics of the bike, everything around you. Just nothing's going to be normal to me, so it's going to take a lot to settle in, I think, but by the time we get towards the end of practice week, hopefully things are starting to make sense.
Now, of course, you've made your name, particularly you've had great success over at Derby and also in the motocross scene as well, so away from the road. So why does now feel like the right time to step into TT? What's made you think, I'm ready now, this is what I should be doing?
Yeah, I've always been a part of it. So my dad always sponsored Big H, and so as a kid I've always been in the paddock. I've grew up in there, probably in that paddock 20 years. But don't know, just it's I've always enjoyed my short circuit racing, and I just didn't feel like I've always felt like I wanted to tick the box, but I've just never felt that. Like every time TT's on, I felt like, oh, I wish I was doing that. But when it went away, the bug wasn't there like it needed to be, and obviously since last year it's finished, and I was going to go to the Manx the end for last year, but then I thought I'll just hold off for a bit and go for the TT instead, and the bug just hasn't left me. It's there still, it's real, I want to do it, and because I feel this way now, I'm going to go at it and have a go. You've done the short circuit stuff, you've done the motocross stuff. Has there ever been a time where you thought to yourself, I might not go down the route of TT, I might go down one of these, or is it always, as you've sort of said, it's crept in, you've wanted to do this? Has that ever been the case? Yeah, it's hard to say. I've always wanted to do it, but like I've just said, it's been the case of everything has to be right to do it, and I've always had the right people, the right backing, and I did initially go and do it 7-8 years ago now, and then for one reason or another I just thought, the time's not right, and I was always told, like, you're young enough, you're better to mature and you have a different outlook on life when you get a bit of age behind you and stuff, and it's true. I've sat back, I look at things different now, there's a lot going on, and I understand everything now, and it's time to have a go now. We've got to come on to the fact that you're going to be racing up against or alongside, however you want to look at it, your brother as well, who's already, I suppose, tread the boards as you like in the mountain course side of things. So what sort of advice and what sort of maybe wisdom has he been able to pass on to you, if anything? Yeah, to be fair, me and Jamie haven't done much yet. Jamie's only got a year behind him. He's still got a lot of knowledge because he's obviously done what he done. He done it well and came around at good speed on a 600. But I've got other friends within the sport, and I've been around with them. I will get round with Jamie before we get there now. But I've tried to get as much as I can, and instead of complicating things, like you can have too many people and they all tell you a different thing, and you then try to put that together and try to make sense of it all. And I don't want to overcomplicate the situation. There's enough going on for me to think about getting 20 different people tell me a different thing for that corner. So Jamie will go around with, he will definitely help me, but as long as we're both in the beer tent on senior race day, we'll be happy.
A lot of people say it takes at least 3 years to fully learn the mountain course. So is that a sort of timescale you're putting on yourself, or you're not putting a timescale on it at all? You're just taking bits as they come? Yeah,
just take it as it comes. I don't know, because obviously some people learn things very quickly, and some people will take a long time. Like say if it was to go to plan, like you wouldn't even get 50 laps in if we had every night of practice and every race go ahead this year for myself. So to think you're only going to hit that apex, that corner 50 times in 2 weeks, that's still minimal, isn't it? Such a big track. So if it clicks, hopefully it does. We'll have a lot of fun and just see. But I've got the right people around me to make it happen. It's just me just learning it now, and as long as we have fun, it's it might take a few years, but we'll see. Anyone that says they don't have an objective is lying. Basically, there's always goals in your head. You don't go away racing like you've got to be realistic. You're not going to go and win a race, but you set a target of where you want to be within the race and what sort of lap time. As a racer, you go off lap times all the time, and a weird thing with a TT is people never say, yeah, I've done 17 minutes 36. They just say, oh, I've done 130 then, which it's weird. But I've got a goal. I've got some kind of goal idea in my head of what I want to do, but if I can qualify for the races, that's the main thing to start with. Just make sure we get on the start line to race.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally tonight, this weekend sees the return of one of the major youth sporting events held on the Isle of Man each year. The 2023 Manx Youth Games will be held this Saturday, with hundreds of youngsters set to take part across a wide variety of different sports. To find out what makes the Games so popular each year and what the Games aim to do, I spoke with Gareth Lloyd, who's the Disability Sports Development Officer at Manx Sport and Recreation.
It comes around quickly every year. Yeah, it's our biggest flagship event, what we do on the island for young people in a sporting environment. So yeah, really excited. So basically we start some training sessions for 13 different sports what come to us, which include football, girls football, hockey, badminton, basketball, squash, swimming, table tennis, tag rugby. We introduced girls rugby as well this year for young girls to try and get a part of. And basically, they've been doing training sessions since they kicked off on January the 23rd. And they've been going every week all around Ireland. So we have over 50-odd sessions on every week across the island for young people to participate in.
What are the sort of numbers we can expect this year in terms of the amount taking part?
So we've had over 1,500 children register interest in the event this year. Obviously, things can happen on the day and stuff like that. People away on holidays and stuff. So normally we have around 1,000 participants on the day.
What is it that makes the Manx Youth Games so popular?
Our main aim is just to break the barriers down, not just for the sports themselves to be able to put on the activities for the children, which we're very thankful for, and all the volunteer coaches and coordinators who put in their time for us to put these on. But it's just breaking down the barriers, making sure the low cost each session is only £1 when you turn up. You're not tied to go into every single session. So when I'm in the schools trying to promote the event, the main thing I'm just asking them to go down and do is just give it a go. So it's having a lot of options and a lot of variety in the sports, what we try and put out there for people. And the main aims overall is to, one, get the children active and hopefully make it a more sustainable thing in their social calendar, so to speak, to make sure they carry on doing the sport after the main event itself.
Many people will consider sport and the competitive side of it, which of course it is a lot of the time, but there's a different side to sport as well, the social aspect of getting to know new people and getting out into different environments. Just how important is that for children's development as a whole?
Well, it's massively important. Again, the games are more just about participation and making friends and making memories as a youngster. And we try and take the competitive element out of it, so it's an environment where children don't have to fear that side of stuff.
The variety of sports that's always there. There's so many different sports that are on offer in the youth games. This gives, I suppose, it shines a light on other sports and what's available on the island as well. Is that an important side of it too?
Oh, massively important. Sides of the less mainstream or less access children have to some of the sports like squash, table tennis, even though a grandparent might have an old table tennis table in the garage and stuff in this. It's an opportunity to go down and see it in all the glory, what the fantastic coaches and volunteers put the work into these sports on a small island. We don't always have the money pumped into them like maybe sports across do, and we rely so heavily on the volunteer coaches around the island, especially in the so-called not as mainstream sport, so to speak, if that makes sense. So the children are asked to register from 9 o'clock onwards down at the NSC. The registration points are all on our website, so any information that parents may need, jump onto our website and have a look. And then once the children are all registered, we have an opening ceremony which takes place from around 10 o'clock in a kind of Olympic Games opening style theme. So the children come and celebrate with all the parents, and all the sports congregate down at the NSC. And then once that finishes around 11, then the sports go off to their locations on island, majority down at the NSC, but we do have one or two just down at local cricket clubs and rugby clubs, and up at Hague for basketball as well. So then once they start around 11 o'clock, from there they have the different round robin games again, just keeping it in a friendly manner. So all the regions come together playing the sports rather than just being in the individual regions. They then meet up with all the regions what have been participating in that sport and all the children who have been playing them all across Ireland. And then the finishing time should be around 3 o'clock-ish, where the children then receive medals and water bottles.
Manx Radio Sport.
Gareth Lloyd of Manx Sport and Recreation there. And just on a final note, the 2023 Manx National Rally has got underway today. Stages 6 and 7 over at Balladool currently underway there. And Little London, Stage 9, taking place from 8:15 to 8:15 to midnight tonight. And then going into tomorrow, it's an early start for day 2 of the rally. Just a reminder, Stage 10 over at Newtown. Roads closing at around 8:45 in the morning. So any information on road closures around the Manx National Rally, do head on over to the Manx Autosport website. That's all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week. Many thanks to my guests this week, Tony Mepham, Ryan Cringle and Gareth Lloyd. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening and a wonderful weekend. But from me, until next time, it's bye for now.
The Nation State.